Um, if you're interested in joining us, I will. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of the Willy Wonka Fibers podcast. Today is Tuesday, January 19th. I was going to record yesterday, which would have been our usual 2-week mark, but I had this horrible croaky sounding voice and thought a day with some hot tea would probably be a good idea to sort of get me over the hump. I had a really fun weekend this past weekend that I wanted to share with you all. I had the opportunity to visit Serendipity Yarns, which is in Buena Vista, Colorado. It's about 4 hours and a little bit from here. It's not too far from the town of Salida, which is where the Salida Fiber Fest is in the fall, that I try to attend every year. It's a great festival, not super far from Denver, so we get a lot of folks out from Denver for the day. And then Buena Vista's kind of the next town over. And so Cheryl, who owns the store, and her husband Frank had invited me up to do a trunk show and book signing for Free Spirit Knits, and we had a great turnout. There were tons of people, and I think part of the reason that I lost my voice a little bit is because I talked all day long, which was great. It was really nice to have so many folks come out. Hopefully, if you did come out, you enjoyed your visit. It's a great store. It's got a ton of yarn selection plus fiber and books. Both Cheryl and Frank are knitters and crocheters and spinners and weavers. And they have a lot of good reference books in the store and just can give you some good advice if there's any of those crafts that you're thinking about taking up or have started and then have a question. Really nice folks. And my friend Joy drove up with me, which was really nice because we left at dark o'clock on Saturday to be up there by 10 and set up. And so it was really nice to have the company and someone to help kind of keep me awake in the dark on the way up. And then she and I stayed with Cheryl and Frank overnight on Saturday and then came back Sunday. So kind of a whirlwind tour, but a lot of fun. And like I said, if you came to the store to visit and either picked up some of my yarns or got a book copy signed, thank you so much for coming out. It was wonderful to meet all of you. Really great crowd. So that was fun. So that's what I've been up to. I've also been locked in the dye room, working on all of my stock for Stitches West, which is coming up in just about a month. If you have plans to attend Stitches West, I just wanted to let you know my booth number is 1247. And if you are not sure where to find that because the conference hall is huge and there's a lot of vendors, we're right next to the demo booth. So if you can find that, you can find me. I've got a corner booth there right across from the demo booth. And so Stitches West is February 18th through 21st. I will be there the whole time. Really looking forward to it. I've attended Stitches events as a participant. I've taken classes and shopped the marketplace, but I haven't vended at one. And so I'm not entirely sure how much stock I need to take, but I suspect a fair amount. So I've been busy in the dye room working on all kinds of goodies, trying to stock stuff up and be ready for that in another month. Other kind of meet and greet places. If you are local to me, meaning in the northern New Mexico area or willing to drive a bit, I will be at the Espanola Valley Fiber Arts on Saturday, February 13th. I don't have a time yet. I think it's going to be something like 10 to 2 or 10 to 1, but as soon as I get that confirmed, which should be for our next podcast, I will get you guys the hours that I'll be there, but it will be Saturday, the 13th of February. I'll be doing another Free Spirits trunk show and book signing, and then I'll also have a limited kind of sampler selection of yarns, fiber patterns, all the goodies that you would expect if you were to see me at a larger show. So that should be fun. I have not done a meet and greet at their particular location before. They're a nice group of ladies, so I'm looking forward to that. Also, it's only 40 minutes from my house or thereabouts, not even half an hour. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that as well. For stitches, I did want to mention that I will have a lot of the things that you all have seen, things like the self-striping yarn. I'll have multiple colorways in that there. All of my transitional packs, I'll have those. I'll have several new patterns, not only mine, but I also will have one that you can purchase the yarn for that Susanna IC designed for me. That's really pretty. She sent me the sample, and I've got that to show probably next time. I think she'll have the pattern release. And then I will also have a pattern kit that will be exclusive to the Stitches folks. I'm making up a bunch of versions of this. It will be a new single skein shawl, and it will have the yarn dyed, which is a gradient, plus the pattern, and a matching project bag. So I'll have a limited number of those. If those don't sell at Stitches West, then I will have them for sale in the shop. Like I said, having not ever been a vendor there before, I'm not totally sure the numbers of things I need to take. But either way, when I'm back from Stitches, the pattern and the yarn will be available just if we sell out of the bags, and those would be the only thing because it's a limited edition fabric, so I can't duplicate them exactly. But that's kind of fun. I'm looking forward to sharing that one with you all shortly. Let's see what else is happening in the world of the shop. It is time to talk about February pre-orders for the next Colors of New Mexico self-striping colorway. I love this colorway. I think it's really fun. I will post a link to the inspiration photo in the podcast notes. But the theme for February's colorway is White Sands, and most people know of it as the White Sands Missile Testing Range, which it is. That's definitely something that folks associate with White Sands. But it's a place that is just starkly beautiful. It's almost like being on the moon. The sand gets formed into these interesting sort of rivulet, wavy, snaky patterns, and there's sort of a shadow, dark light thing happening with that. And because it's New Mexico, we get a lot of bright sunny days here, and the sky is a gorgeous, gorgeous blue that really sets off that clear sand color with the white and the shadows. So this is the colorway. This was again knit on the Ayrton sock base, which is superwash merino, cashmere, and nylon. It's a repeating striping sock pattern. It's got this cobalt blue, really pale silver and a narrow strip, and then a sort of sky blue, and then that repeats, and then white and turquoise. So slightly different color striping pattern on this one. Again, I knit these with my 2.25 millimeter, which is US size 1 circulars. I use 2 circulars for this. Knit from the top down with an afterthought heel and my kind of typical rounded toe end there. I just think this is a great colorway for jeans or anything that would be really casual. I think it'd be a really fun colorway to have kind of tucked up under a pair of pants or a pair of jeans. So this is currently available in the shop. It is the same setup that we had for the Santa Fe socks, in that you can pick one of 4 sock bases and everything will be dyed to order. So it's about a 3-week turnaround time right now. I'm kind of keeping ahead of the worst of the onslaught, but we kind of have little peaks. So 3 to 4 weeks to be safe, just so you know that it's coming. So that is available. The Santa Fe colorway is still available, and then the 2 Valentine's Day colorways will be available as well for another month. Just like we did with Santa Fe, the White Sands colorway will be available for the next 3 months, and then I'll phase it out. So we'll have another colorway to announce as well for pre-orders in March. And if you're interested, there's just a couple days left to order yourself one of the gradients for Suburban Stitcher's Rainbowalong, and that is the cowl that's over there. And I showed you that last week. If you order the yarn, it comes with a coupon to get half off the pattern on Ravelry for that particular cowl. It's a single skein project. And again, that's just going to be available, the yarn itself, for a couple more days. I'm going to close orders on the 21st of February, which is Thursday, to make sure I can get it to you all who want to participate in the Rainbowalong in time to start for February 1st. So that's my goal. I had a bunch of new orders come in over the weekend. I'm almost caught up on those. I have, I think, 3 left to finish up, and then everything will go out in the next day or two. We've had gorgeous weather, and so it makes it easy to dye and dry things when it's 50 degrees and sunny out, because I just opened the big garage door off my studio, and all of my drying racks are on wheels, so I can wheel stuff out into the sunlight, and that makes a huge difference. So I think that's everything in terms of shop news. I will link to the Suburban Stitchers Rainbowalong, so in case you were not, that wasn't on your radar, but you'd like to participate, you can see all the fun things that Diane's got planned. There's prizes, there's a knit along, just a lot of great camaraderie, and it's fun. It will run for the month of February, the knit along portion of it. I'll also link to the shop listing for the White Sands socks and the cowl, both the pattern, which is on Ravelry, and the yarn listing, which, as I said, will be will come down from the shop on the 21st and not be available anymore. So let's talk then a little bit about where I am in the world of design. I have been pushing really, really hard to try to finish a deadline project, which is on size 2 needles. It's a size 44 men's sweater, fingering weight. I wanted to try to have it done before I left for the Serendipity shop book signing this Saturday, and I didn't quite have it done. Close, but not quite. So when I got home on Sunday, I did a few things, prepped stuff in the dye room, and then I parked it in a chair and I sat and I knit on that. So I'm pleased to say that that is now done. I just have to weave in ends and block it, but it's minimal finishing. It's all one piece, so it's all together. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I used Harrisville's Shetland fingering weight for this one, so it's got a lot of really nice sort of tweedy fall feel to it, and gorgeous colorways. It's a color work piece, so that is almost off my plate. I have a little bit left to do, but I think it's actually something I can finish this afternoon, finish all the weaving in of the ends and get it blocked. And since, like I said, the weather's been almost perfect in my book, I will go ahead and get that blocked. So I will just need to plug in some numbers to send the draft off to the tech editor. And that will be done. That's a great feeling. Sweater number 2, I am up to the point that I have about 2.5 inches left to knit on the first sleeve. And then the body is done up to the armholes, and so then I'll have the second sleeve to do. It's a DK weight women's sweater, so it's a little smaller, and certainly the needles are bigger, which is nice. So I can use sort of bits and pieces of time to work on that. I'll get that, I would say, that second sleeve finished up in the next day or two. And with any luck, get everything joined this weekend. My goal on that one is to have it finished no later than the 1st of February, which is 2 weeks, basically. And then I have one more sweater. That one I'm going to swatch for today, make sure that I'm on the money with what I want to do in terms of the drape of it. It's mostly stockinette, but it's a yarn I haven't used before. So I want to make sure that the gauge swatch isn't lying to me like they do. You know how that is. So I want to make sure that I block it and then give it a day or so to sort of rest and hang out, and just make sure that it's spot on and that the needles I've picked are going to work for this and not have it be too drapey or too stiff or something strange. Once I get all those kind of cleared off my plate, I think it's a longer period of time to work on stuff. I don't have any really fast deadlines coming up. Everything else is kind of more May. That's a little more doable. I feel like I have a little more wiggle time with that. So I can get a few things kind of tidied up. Sometimes in the world of deadline knitting, when you're working really hard to just get a sample finished and out the door, the process that I go through in order to kind of finalize my files and take some detail pictures and things like that kind of fall by the wayside. It just does, because you're in a rush to get things done. This one, I do have till February 8th to have the sample arrive in Interweave's offices, so I'm hopeful that I can get some of that done, but knowing that I have these other 2 sweaters to kind of push through, I'm sure that there's something that I will forget that I need for my records, because I think that's kind of how that works. I think that's everything. I think that's all the business news. So now let's talk about some fun stuff. The Handspun Knit Along. I actually got some things, some repeats done on my Handspun shawl since the last time we talked, which was a couple weeks ago. Here is where I am currently. Can you, yeah, I think that's not too bad. There. So substantially bigger, but not finished. This is through the 11th chart repeat. The pattern is written for a total of 16, and you can see this is the edge I'm working on right now. So if I can hold that up for y'all. So it's not a hugely long edge, but it's decently long. So I am obviously eating up more yardage with each row now that I'm knitting on here and not across, let's say, this little short part. And I'm pretty sure that I will have plenty of yarn left to do a slightly larger version. I'm not sure how many extra repeats. I'll chime in on that when we get a little closer to finishing repeat 15 and 16. I'll weigh the ball of handspun and see where I am in terms of the yardage ounce ratio and how fast I'm using it up. But it looks to me like I'll have plenty there. So just loving working on this. It's a great fun project. I think it's going to be gorgeous when it's blocked. You can even kind of see that as I'm holding that up with the pattern in it. So again, no huge deadline or anything on this. I'll probably try to add a couple rows to it this weekend, or repeats to it this weekend, 2 or 3 at least, see where I stand. I would like to have it finished by the end of January, just because you might remember from the last podcast, one of my goals for the year is to knit one project a month out of my hand spun. So it would be nice to kind of have that finished for the end of the month, so I know I have a clean slate. With your hand spun anyway this year, please come and join us. I think that would be a lot of fun. We've already had several finished objects, which they're gorgeous to look at. It's one of my favorite things to go scroll through the eye candy. And I've also put together on my Willy Wonka Ravelry group, up at the top in the tabs, there's a bundle that includes patterns that work well with handspun. So I've included some ones that I know work well, and then as folks are finishing things up and they've had a successful project, I'm adding those patterns as well to that bundle. They're not all mine. There's a couple in there I think that are, but for the most part, it's just a variety of things. A couple of sweaters, lots of shawls, lots of accessories, lots of things you can do with 4 ounces that you've spun up. So kind of a fun little reference point in that group. Now, as far as hand spinning, y'all, I have been on some crazy bender, I guess. I don't know. Last time we talked, I showed you all the gradient that I had spun up, the hand spun gradient. That was the iceberg. So that was my first spin of 2016. You may want to pause for a second and you can go get some tea or another beverage and then come back. I'll be here because we're going to talk about hand spun for a little while. I've got several things to show you all. Are you back? Okay. So the second spin of 2016 was this. Yeah, that's pretty close. It's maybe a hair warmer. I think it's getting yellowed out a little. Let's see what happens if I bring it back here. Yeah. This is from a 75-25 Blueface Leicester wool and silk blend. It's a 2-ply that I spun up as a heavy fingering, light sport weight, 388 ounces, or 388 yards, 3.8 ounces. The original fiber, and you can see all of these handspun projects if you care to do so on my personal bunny spinner handspun page on Ravelry. The original fiber was from a dyer, Funky Carolina, who no longer dyes. And I love Carrie's dye sense. I just love everything about it. So this is one of the ones that I've been hoarding and decided that 2016 is the year I'm spinning up some of this hoarded fiber in the stash because really it's too pretty not to. This one was a total surprise for me. The braid was dark burgundy, dark rust, a little bit of almost a mint green, and it did not really come out that way. It's much paler. There was a lot of white down under those dark colors in the roving when it was dyed, and so it's sort of pastelized, that's a word, made more pastel, those original bright colors. Not to say I don't like this, it's just, it was a surprise, that's all. And I had originally bought the braid because it was colors that I don't work with very often. I tend towards cool colors, I tend towards kind of grayed out colors, that's what I like. So this was a challenge to myself to spin some colors that I didn't think necessarily were, quote, my colors. So I really like how this came out. The plan for this, in theory, I have another braid of BFL silk from the same Funky Carolina dyer in a different colorway, but it's called Honey Sunset. And it's got a lot of the darker kind of warm colors in it. Some of the rusts and burgundy colors, and it's a semi-solid. And I thought, well, that would be really pretty if I spun that up to go as a companion colorway with this. Striped shawl maybe? Not 100% sure that I'm going to go that route, but I do have that as an option. So I'm hanging on to this one to see down the road what I'm going to spin with it, or if I'm going to use it just as is. I think it'd be great as a cowl as well. It's beautifully soft and it's got a gorgeous drape, so it would work well for any of that. Spin number 2 for 2016. Spin number 3. So for those of you not familiar with it, Fat Cat Knits, the brand name, Ginny does a complimentary braid club. And so what you get when you sign up for the club are 2.5 ounce braids of colors that work together. They're both hand paints. And a lot of times what I found is that while I don't necessarily think I would have picked those 2 braids together, if I trust what Ginny's done and I spin each of the 2.5 ounce braids and ply them, I get something awesome. Again, sometimes outside of my comfort color zone, but that's okay. That's the whole point. That's the reason that you do these things. So this was a fairy tale themed club that she did back in 2013. And I just realized that I'm missing the companion braid. So if y'all will hold on 30 seconds, I'm going to go grab that because all will be more clear. So I will be right back. Okay, had to go grab that other skein. So the first braid, the inspiration theme for this portion of the club was the fairy tale Snow White and Rose Red, which is not the Snow White and the Dwarfs that we think of. That's the Disney thing. It's a Grimm's fairy tale one with the 2 sisters. So the 2 colorways were Angry Dwarf, which had large sections of white, and then a very bright red with a lot of orange in it, a golden yellow, and little tiny bits, very short runs, of a sort of copper patina green. That was the first 2.5 ounces. The second 2.5 ounces was the Prince, which was dark purple, royal blue, chestnut brown, a very subdued colorway. The second colorway, the Prince, was kind of more up my alley. And I really was struggling with what I was going to do with the Angry Dwarf. I'm not a red person. I don't wear it very often, and it has to be a certain kind of red. I don't do well with orange reds very, very well. Not unless I have something in between that and what, you know, if I had on a turquoise cowl and something with red in it, I can get away with that, but not just plain red. So what I decided to do with the Angry Dwarf was I split the braid and I pulled out all of the sections that were white or mostly white, and then I pulled apart all the sections that were the brighter tones, and I spun 2 braids. The top one obviously is the neutrals. It has a little bit of gold in it. It wasn't possible to perfectly break the fiber length without pulling some color in occasionally. So that's the neutral. And then I spun up the brighter colors together, and you can see it's kind of a bricky red, and then there's that old gold and just a little bit of that patina-y green. So here they are together. So the smaller braid wound up being just about 1/3, not quite, but almost, of the total amount. And this brighter braid is about 2/3. So I wound up with 113 yards and 75 yards of a sport weight. So my plan for these is to do up a 2-color chevron striped hat. I probably won't keep it because I think that this is still going to have to be the main color and therefore the thing you cast on first with. And I suspect that I will not like that next to my pasty colored hair. But it's a gorgeous colorway, and I was really pleased with how it came out, and another great surprise. The second half of this club kit, the prints, I opted to just spin as is. I split the roving into, I believe it was 6 equal parts lengthwise, and then I just spun a nice 2-ply. Sort of there. It's very dark. You guys see that? There we go. That's probably pretty close. So you can see all the chestnut brown, the dark purple, the royal blue. This is much more kind of my colorway. And I'm thinking just a pair of nice squishy worsted weight type mitts for this with maybe just a little bit of texture. Nothing crazy. Just kind of let the yarn do its thing. But I've certainly got plenty of this. It wound up being a DK weight, and there's tons of wonderful patterns for that. So let me just show you these all together. So that's the colors that came with the original roving. And again, if you want to see what that looks like, I have pictures of the roving on each of my Handspun project pages, just as a mental reference for myself about what I did, what it looked like, kind of what my starting point was. So that was a fun spin that actually went really fast because even though it's a total of 5 ounces, having broken these apart and then separated them even further, and then did this one separately, a lot of fun spin time with fun yarn without feeling like I was embarking on a monster project. Ready for more? There's more. This is the first, so let's see, we've had skein 1 was the gradient, skein 2 was the BFL silk. I'm counting as skein 3 and 4 the 2.5 ounce club fibers. So this is spin 5 for the month. This is a set of kind of lofty singles. They're also about DK weight that I spun from the very first Fiber Club package that went out around the 15th for the Woolly Wonka Fibers Club. So the original colorway was based on Van Gogh's Starry Night oil painting, and so it had some dark charcoal, navy blue, and then a sky blue, plus pops of little yellow and gold stars in it. This is on Falkland, one of my favorites to spin, and I think it works great for singles because it doesn't abrade too badly, and it's got a longer staple length, so you can leave it with a fairly light twist and still have it hang together. So this one, oops, sorry, it's drooping there, 262 yards, DK. Used the full 4 ounces, didn't have any waste because I didn't ply it. Not totally sure what I'll make with this. It may be a hat of some ilk. We'll see. I may have enough to do 2 projects with it. And it's probably something that I'll knit up as a donation to go in the charity bin that I keep, I add to as the year goes on and then send off. I did have someone ask me about what charity that I knit for, and I'll include the link in the show notes as well, but there's a group that's on Ravelry called Mittens for Akkol, and I hope that I pronounced that right. I actually was a member of this group back in the dark ages when we only had Yahoo groups and no Ravelry. I don't know what we did before Ravelry. Um, the lady who kind of spearheads it up, she had adopted 2 kids from a Siberian orphanage, and it's very cold there a lot of the year. And when the kids get to be about 17 and they are considered adults, if they haven't been placed with a family somewhere, they're they're excused from the orphanage. They're sent off to be adults with basically nothing. They try to get them, a toothbrush and some basic toiletries, but really the clothes on their backs and out the door they go. So Nancy has been working very hard to make sure that the youngsters who phase out of the orphanage program have at least a set of warm clothes to go out into the world with. And so the first half of every year, she does a drive for the graduates where she has folks knit sweaters. I think she does a sweater, a hat, a scarf, a pair of socks, and maybe also a pair of mittens for every graduate. And the graduate gets to pick the colors. Um, it's a ton of work. She's got a great group of really hardcore knitters who, I mean, the kids are signed up for as soon as she knows the list of the kids that are going to be leaving the orphanage. So once that is taken care of, that sort of immediate need every year is taken care of. And for those of us who, realistically, I don't have bandwidth to be doing my work knitting and also cranking through gift sweaters every 6 months. She has an ongoing drive where she's happy to take anything that's warm. They do not want anything that is like a machine washable acrylic. She wants wool. The kids don't have access to washing machines, and everything has to be washed by hand anyway. So knitting an acrylic sweater isn't really helping them. And 100% wool or a wool and something blend that's not acrylic, they're very warm. They're much warmer than the acrylic. So this is a great way that I've been trying to knit some patterns that I have interest in knitting and use up that single skein of yarn or that extra pair of sock or extra skein of sock yarn that you weren't entirely sure was kind of your thing once you skeined it and started knitting with it. Or maybe you've got a bunch of scraps and you want to do different heels and toes or something a little bit funky. All of that. They will happily take any pair of socks you want to knit. There's a database where you can just put your name down and say, I've knit a hat this size, I've knit 3 scarves, I've knit X, Y, and Z length of socks. And they usually do a sock drive in the fall where they're looking for several hundred pairs of socks. So she takes those over usually between Thanksgiving and Christmas. She ships these 40-pound boxes over, and the kids get to pick which socks they want from the gift table. So there are different sizes that she's looking for depending on what the current population is at the orphanage. But they look for things that are what we would think of as normal socks you can wear in shoes, but they also look for thicker socks the kids can wear in boots, sort of DK weight and thicker, which knit up super quick. They're almost always looking for mittens and hats. If you like to knit those, it's a great place to go. And the organization has been around for probably 15 years, maybe even a little bit more. I mean, that's as long as I've known about it. So I'll link to their group as well in the podcast notes. If you have a skein of handspun that maybe isn't your colors, you want to do something great with it, knit a hat, keep a kid warm. I don't think there's anything bad about that at all. And certainly a lot of handspun colors are bright and fun, and it'd be the kind of thing I would be happy to have as a kid, especially if it was another cold day and I was standing outside. So anyway, this one also will probably go into that because it has a lot of darker colors in it. I would think it would be a good unisex hat, and I may need a little big and felt it, or I may even do mittens with this one and felt those down a size or so, knit them on larger needles and felt them down. So when the kids are outside, that can be an exterior layer mitten, and something they don't have to worry about felting because it's already felted. Then my last thing that I'll share with you guys in the world of spinning is the project that I'm working on right now. It's another Fat Cat Knits club. This was the December 2015 club. The theme for the club in 2015 was famous couples. So this last one that we were sent was Scarlet and Rhett. And I picked a base of a swirl merino, so it's got a dark wool and light wool together. The Scarlet colorway of roving was all jewel tones. It obviously had a lot of scarlet in it, imagine that. Emerald green, royal blue, a kind of dark royal purple as well. Really pretty, very bright colors, but the swirl, the darker wool helped kind of tone it down a little bit. So I finished the singles on that. That is kind of true, not exactly. It's a little bit brighter in real life. So that's Scarlet all spun up. And I've got Rhett to start tonight. Much more subdued colorway. It's grays, it's black, it's got a little of Bonnie blue in it, for those of you familiar with the Gone with the Wind story. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be fun. My plan is to ply the two together. I'm just going to trust Ginny on this one. I think it'll come out really fun. And then down the road, perhaps think about spinning a dark, either dark gray or just black merino as an accent, and maybe do, again, a striped shawl or something like that with it. It may be that I love the colors in this one so much that I'll just make a cowl, but I've spun it pretty thin, so I think I'll have a fair amount of yardage, and I may not want to, quote, just knit a cowl from it. We'll see. Hopefully next time I'll have that to show you. For those of you who are on Instagram, a couple of us have started a virtual spin night every Tuesday night. And today is Tuesday, so it'll happen tonight. You don't have to really have any specific time that you join or don't join or any specific projects, but if you are on Instagram, please look me up at Woolly Wonka Fibers. I will put my Instagram account link into the show notes for you so you can find me easily. There's several of us, and we've just committed to spinning on Tuesday nights, whether it's 15 minutes or an hour or 6 hours, whatever you can fit in amongst getting dinner on the table and homework and chores and all those other good things that take up your time. And so if you wanted to join in, the hashtag we're using is Tuesday night spin, I believe it is. I'll put that in the podcast notes once I look at what we did for last week. And then we'd love to see what it is you're spinning, what the project is you're working on right now, and whatever you've got on the wheel for a Tuesday night. We're all in different time zones, so whatever suits your schedule is great. Feel free to join us, and I hope you will. I think that's everything for this go round. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'm looking forward to talking to you next time when it will already be February. Hard to believe. The whole month of January is just zipping by. But I'll also have some more details then to give you guys about Stitches West and some other new things that are kind of coming down the pike. So thank you again for joining me. I do hope you'll continue to spend a brief time with my podcast every couple of weeks or so. It's always fun for me to hear from you as well. So if you want to get in touch, I'm Bunny Spinner on Ravelry. You can also find me through my group at Woolly Wonka Fibers on Ravelry. You can find me through Instagram as Woolly Wonka Fibers, as well as on Facebook. So thanks, guys. Have a great couple of weeks, and I will check in with you in early February.